Raj and Gautam, I want to address that second issue with you. And Raj, let me, take that forward with you. We've seen a bunch of measures already being taken by the government to try and ensure that medical devices are produced in India. We went through that whole experience with COVID where there were made in India ventilators, which eventually never saw the light of day, are not in use. We don't know what really has transpired post the sort of urgency that the pandemic merited, warranted. How do we ensure that we can actually create the device ecosystem in India and ensure that we can provide good quality medical devices that are necessary for things like cancer care? Raj?
Yeah, so I think the first starting point is I think we all have realized that missing piece here is a radiation therapy, which requires, which is a capital intensive treatment modality. But we also have almost the landed cost to healthcare players is 30% more because of the custom duty and IGST. I think that's something that we can quickly address in the larger interest of cancer patients across India. That's definitely one thing I would like to recommend.
There is a 30% customs duty on radiation therapy equipment?
30%, including custom duty and IGST.
Okay. Right. So that's one of the fixes. What else?
I think
yes, Raj. Well, yeah.
I think we need to look at. I think the issue here is actually the last mile, right? I think in our urban cities, we are as good as any developed countries. But I think I think we just got a booster shot in our arm during COVID pandemic. Today, India is the second largest digital economy in terms of number of internet users. Rural internet users have surpassed urban users. Internet users of age group 45 plus are as big as millennials. So the last 1 mile today can be covered with one click, one link, one app, one call. I think the digitization of cancer care coordination and communication is becoming a reality. There is a very vibrant health tech ecosystem which is partnering with healthcare players to cross these geographical barriers. Whether it's virtual consultations, second opinions, virtual tumor boards, mixed reality, is enabling us to take the expertise to areas where there was none in terms of AI, artificial intelligence, machine learning, data analytics, digital tools are democratizing detection and treatment like never before. I think this is a problem that I think all stakeholders will have to come together and solve, and that was one of the reasons why we could handle COVID pandemic the way we could handle, because we all got together, and I think it's important that all stakeholders come together to reduce the cancer burden for India in similar manner.
Sure. Yes, all stakeholders do need to get together. But Gautam, let me, address specifics with you. Raj has put down a very specific demand there in terms of doing away with the customs duty of 30%, which includes IGST, or at least significantly reducing that to bring down the cost of equipment being imported into India, because it's currently, we don't have that ecosystem here in terms of manufacturing the equipment here in India. Gautam, specific measures, specific interventions that you would like the government and the private sector to take forward?
So Shereen, I'm taking it forward from what Raj mentioned about collaboration. Many newer age cancer cure therapies like proton therapy, CAR T cells therapy, which is going to come, are very, very expensive. And it will be very difficult for an individual private player to set up those facilities. So my suggestion is that we need to have a system of collaboration among stakeholders, whether there are multiple private players or private and government get together to have common facilities in some city, maybe have one or two, one common in one of the each metro. So because it's so expensive for an individual player, and unless we do that, we will not be able to provide better care to the patient. So that's one specific comment. Second comment I wanted to say is that we know that India is a hub of startups and digital India, and there are lots of things happening. So I think we need to have a system where the startup ecosystem works with the providers, which works with the government, works with the suppliers, to focus on what we mentioned earlier is in the in screening and then having diagnostics and having one quick common solution for handling all the oncology cases in the country, so that patients also know it's like one touch call where to go to. So that's second thing. The third example I would like to give is that today when there are multiple tests to be done for a patient when you're trying to diagnose the cancer, which type of cancer and so on and on. So now we need to encourage more and more R&D to figure out if there is a way that with one sample, with multiple, with one sample, we can have multiple tests results. So we will know what is the type of cancer which is existing. So these three things, but I think the last suggestion I would say is overall, I think overall, the private, the government, NGOs, and whoever are the players in the ecosystem, onco ecosystem, need to think about not as a PPP in terms of private government, but public, but just maybe private, public, everyone put together to have an ecosystem to address all the things we talked about in terms of prevention, screening, diagnostics, and treatment of oncology patients in the country. That will probably help.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly hope that that is going to be the approach that many take. Many are, of course, on an individual basis, whether it's the private sector or trusts, etc., are working in this space. But the problem is large and we need solutions at scale as well. So, Srimayee, let me end by asking you, in terms of specific action, for instance, the report does suggest that government schemes must cover diagnostic interventions, and that's really where the costs start to add up before we even get to the treatment. So, PET scans, biopsies, genomics, that's where you believe that government intervention, government schemes must cover these costs?
Absolutely. So if you're looking at providing standardized treatment, which takes into account the best of the advanced modern therapies which are available, and we know that we have to really work on improving outcomes for the country in terms of reducing the mortality as well as improving survivorship, we have to adopt a lot of these modern technologies. And it is imperative for the government to standardize the adoption across their various schemes, whether central or it is state government schemes, uniform treatment pathways, which are actually guided by an apex body, which is cancer focused, which takes into account all these newer age treatment options, like, as you mentioned, PET CT, or it is genomics, or it is immunotherapy, comes into play. And we also look forward to having some kind of cancer specific accreditation of various hospitals, which can give confidence to the public as well as to the government to go forward and actually reimburse for the treatments which are done under the regime of the various schemes which are prevalent in the country today.
Do we have a number what it would cost the government, what it could potentially cost the exchequer, Srimayee?
So we have certain estimates with respect to capacity creation, whether it is in terms of LINACs or it is in terms of addition of beds. So just the LINACs itself will cost somewhere around 30 to 40,000 crores if they were to be provided in terms of meeting the benchmarks from a global standard perspective, and capacity creation in terms of adding comprehensive cancer beds in the country, that would be another 20 to 30,000 odd crores, which would require to be actually focused upon as an investment required under the cancer control agenda. And of course, the financing part under the schemes would be and over and above this.
Yes, and that when you add it all up, it is a significant cost, and I don't know whether the Exchequer is going to be able to take on this burden, and so we are going to have to need to look at solutions to be able to finance some of the challenges that you spoke of, both in terms of capacity addition as well as being able to reimburse the high cost of treatment. Srimayee, Gautam, Raj, many thanks for joining us here to address a very important issue, an issue that doesn't get enough attention, certainly doesn't get any airtime or enough airtime, but we hope that we've got the conversation started here, and we look forward to interventions from all stakeholders. Many thanks for joining us here on this special edition of Eye on India. We'll take a break. There's a lot more coming up. Don't go anywhere. We're back in a minute with more.